Hey guys, it's Riva, and today I've got a video about lightsaber heroes, and in particular, Yoda. Recently, I've been playing a lot of heroes versus villains, using all kinds of heroes, but especially the lightsaber ones. So that's Luke, Rey, Yoda, Kylo, Vader, and Darth Maul. And I've started learning all kinds of tactics, different strategies and tips to get better playing as them. What this video is about is something that I think we can all agree on. The newly added physics to the game have a massive say in a fight. What I mean by the physics is when you get force pushed, for example, you fly backwards. Same thing with when you get choked as Vader, you fall to the ground and you need to stand back up. And this goes for a lot of abilities if you get hit by them. So how many of these force abilities can be blocked by a lightsaber? Other heroes such as Han Solo, Bossk, Darth Maul and so on, they of course have no blocking ability. So they're going to get hit regardless, unfortunately. But I wanted to see if the block of a lightsaber could counter these moves, and especially test Yoda's unique block. So let's start with Yoda. I think it's easier to straight up say that he cannot block anything. However, we know that he can absorb things. After testing a few things and playing with him a lot in Heroes vs Villains, I found that Yoda can both block and absorb Palpatine's Force Lightning and Chain Lightning. Due to Palpatine's Lightning being a lot stronger than Blaster Fire, Yoda will almost instantly build up the upgrade to his Unleash ability. If you don't know what I mean by this, when Yoda absorbs, he builds up this meter which increases the range and damage of his force push. That's a perfect counter for Palpatine in Heroes vs Villains. Keep that in mind when you go up against Palpatine. If you absorb his lightning and then use the Unleash ability back at him, you have completely taken control of that fight. The only downside to this tactic is that all of Yoda's stamina gets built up and you need to wait until the red circle has disappeared if you'd like to block again. The fact that Yoda can instantly build this up and use the Emperor's own power against him just reminds me so much of the clip in Revenge of the Sith. So here's a few examples of how the tactic works and to show how powerful Yoda can really be. For example, in this clip, after absorbing Palpatine's lightning for just a couple seconds, I was able to push and damage 3 villains who were far away, allowing me to escape from them and reposition with my team. So this is a great idea if you want to use Yoda in Heroes vs Villains. Keep in mind that he can block and absorb Palpatine's lightning to make him a lot stronger. However, that's not the only thing interesting about Yoda. His block ability has more to show. After testing it some more, I found that it can in fact block all force powers. The only things Yoda cannot block are lightsaber strikes or anything with a splash damage, meaning he will still take damage from a lightsaber throw, for example. But the clips in the background show Yoda flinching when Kylo uses his force pull, showing that there is a mechanic to block that ability. Also, I've got a lot of clips showing that Yoda can block all kinds of things and it can be so useful against the dark sides, blocking every ability thrown his way, including Darth Vader's Force Choke, Darth Maul's Choke Hold, even Palpatine's Electrocute, which I forgot to mention earlier. Electrocute is the ability that stuns you, so the fact that Yoda can block this is a great counter for Palpatine. Yoda can single-handedly counter all of Palpatine's abilities if he is blocking. I think knowing that Yoda can block these abilities is a massive game changer for using Yoda in Heroes vs Villains. It makes him appear a lot stronger than I thought. Although this is the part I'm more interested in showing you. It's the fact that every time Yoda blocks one of these force abilities, it actually contributes to his Unleash, showing that in fact DICE have completely implemented Yoda as he would fight in a real world scenario, which again gives us more the reason to use Yoda in Heroes vs Villains despite him seeming weak. But clearly that isn't the case. Not only can Yoda block the Force, he can absorb it, turning his Force push even stronger against his enemy. Now how's that for a counterattack? With that being said, Yoda still may have a lot of secrets behind him to find out, but I think this information on blocking is a great thing to share. Every time Kylo Ren does a force freeze on you, if you're blocking, you will take that energy from that ability and use it back at him, making your ability even stronger. And same thing goes for all the force abilities by the dark side. As I said, Yoda doesn't exactly block, which in turn makes him very unique, which now leaves all the other lightsaber heroes, excluding Darth Maul of course, are able to block with their lightsaber. As for the light side force abilities, I've tested Luke's Force Push, Luke's Force Repulse, Rey's Mind Trick, and Yoda's Unleash. So which of these abilities can the villains block? Turns out they all can be blocked except for Rey's Mind Trick. Again, I've got clips showcasing the evidence that they can be blocked, but Rey's Mind Trick is the only ability that can pass through the block, which makes sense of course because it is tricking your mind. So here are the clips, and I wanted to say that sometimes you may think that you have blocked something, but it still hits you. Like you're in the blocking stance, but the ability is still damaging you, or you've been thrown across the map somehow. And I may have an answer for this. So the lightsaber block only works from the front. The sides and the back of the hero is still vulnerable. So chances are you may have been hit from the sides or from behind you, some kind of different angle from where the ability is blocking. So that's the only explanation I can think of. So if not, I'd assume there's maybe a delay of when the blocking takes effect. So here we can see that Kylo Ren and Vader can block various force attacks. Now the villains are more interesting. They have more variety of attacks. Kylo Ren can pull and freeze opponents, Vader can throw his lightsaber and force choke, and Darth Maul can choke hold, not to mention Palpatine's various lightning abilities. Starting with Kylo Ren. So it turns out both his force pull and freeze can be blocked. Of course I showed the evidence that Yoda can block these abilities, but the same thing goes for the lightsaber block. This is bearing in mind if you're attacked from the front of course. So here's a few clips of the light side heroes shielding from those two abilities from Kylo Ren. As I showed earlier that Yoda can block the Emperor's lightning abilities, thankfully the same thing applies to Luke and Rey. They can both block Palpatine's attacks, even electrocute. And electrocute is so great to be able to block, because if you're hit by electrocute you are stunned and you are so vulnerable to damage. So knowing that you can block that when Palpatines come near you is such a great tactic. Just a few side notes that I think are still useful, but not what I was planning to cover, is the fact that Han Solo's shoulder charge and detonite charge can be blocked. Usually both would send the villain back having to stand back up, you know, the physics. So I think that's great to know if you're playing as Vader or Kylo Ren that you can block those abilities from Han Solo. Also, Rey's dash strike can also be blocked, which is a nice touch, although do be careful as Rey players can change the direction of the strike when it's activated, so it can be quite tough to block. This is the ability that I think many of us are experiencing. We're blocking, but we're still getting hit by it. and I think that's due to the fact that if Ray hits you from the sides, then you'll break the block and you'll fall over. But if you're attacked from the front, as shown in this clip, then it shows that you can block that ability, sending Ray back, and now you can attack. Well, that's it for the video. I hope that these tips have been useful for you lightsaber fans, and especially finding out those features about Yoda. Definitely a surprise to me, so I'm glad I got to share it. Hopefully this has changed your opinion on heroes versus villains, and hopefully made your hero combat a lot more enjoyable. As always, let me know what you thought in the comments, leave any secrets you found out about the heroes, and I'll take a look. Thanks for watching, it's been Riva, and I'll see you in the next one.